Nunnington Hall is a country house situated in the English county of North Yorkshire. The River Rye, which gives its name to the local area, Ryedale, runs past the house, flowing away from the village of Nunnington. A stone bridge over the river separates the grounds of the house from the village. Above, a ridge known as Colkey's Bank lies between Nunnington and the Vale of York to the south. The Vale of Pickering and the North York Moors lie to the north and east. Nunnington Hall is owned, conserved and managed as a visitor attraction by the National Trust. The first Nunnington Hall was mentioned in the 13th century and the site has had many different owners. They include William Parr, the first Marquess of Northampton, Dr. Robert Hewick, Richard Graham, the first Viscount Preston, the Rutson family and the Fife family. The present building is a combination of 17th and 18th century work. Most of the building seen today was created during the 1680s, when Richard Graham, first Viscount Preston, was its owner. In the medieval period, the land belonged to the wealthy St Mary's Abbey in York. Nunnington takes its name from a nunnery, likely in the present location of Nunnington Hall, which existed prior to the Norman conquest, before being dissolved around 1200. According to the Domesday Book, the manor of Nunnington is in the 11th century included Stonegrave, Ness, Home and Wycombe. William Parr, the first Marquess of Northampton, Lord of the Manor of Nunnington, and brother of Queen Consort Catherine Parr, built the oldest parts of the surviving house of Nunnington, which now form part of the West Front. Following the forfeiture of the estate in 1553 for his part in setting Lady Jane Grey on the throne, Nunnington was again subject to let. One of the tenants was Dr. Robert Hewick, also spelt Hicke, who was physician to both Catherine Parr and Elizabeth I. Dr. Hewick was to be the one to tell the Queen that she would never have children. Hewick never lived at Nunnington Hall, and the estate was managed by stewards. The sublease was granted to Thomas Norcliffe in 1583, and the family made many alterations over the next 60 years. In 1603, George Watkins and others were granted a lease of the manor for 31 years, but after 25 years it was granted to Edward Ditchfield and others of the City of London, who sold it the same year for £3,687 to John Halloway, who held the manor in 1630. By 1655, the manor had been sold for £9,500 by Humphrey Thayer to Ranald Graham, a merchant of Lewisham. Ranald was succeeded by his nephew Sir Richard Graham of Netherby. In 1689, for attempting to join James II in France, his lands and property were confiscated, but later returned after he was pardoned. He was succeeded by his son and heir Edward, the second Viscount, and he in turn by his son Charles III, and last Viscount Preston. Charles's heirs on his death in 1739 were his aunts, Mary Graham and Catherine, Lady Widrington, who were granted joint possession of the manor of Nunnington in 1748. Mary died unmarried, and Lady Widrington left her estates to Sir Bellingham Graham of Norton Conyers. The property then descended in the Norton Conyers Graham family until 1839, when it was sold to William Rutson of Newby Wisk, the son of William Rutson of Allerton Lodge. The hall was inherited in 1920 by Rutson's great-niece, Margaret Rutson, who had married Ronald Darcy Fife. They undertook a major renovation of the property in the 1920s, using the architect Walter Briley. Margaret bequeathed Nunnington Hall, much of its contents and its gardens to the National Trust upon her death in 1952, along with £25,000 for the upkeep of the property. In today's money, £765,280. The hall stands within 8 acres of organically managed grounds, with the main wall garden lying to the south of the building. The wall garden includes lawns, orchards, formal rose beds, mixed borders, a tea garden and an iris garden. The orchards are managed as wildflower meadows containing flowers such as cowslip, primrose, snake's head fritillae, buttercup and camassia, all growing below the fruit trees, of which most are traditional Rydale varieties. Another feature of the gardens are the resident peacocks. On the 10th of June 2007, Bluey, head of the peacock family, died under suspicious circumstances. Today, visitors enter by a modest entrance and porch to the stone hall. This west-facing room is in the oldest part of the building, and it dates from the 16th century. On the walls you can see preserved animal skins as trophies, a collection of arms and armour, and also some large brown wood furniture. This space comprises the National Trust reception area, and it is lit by two high windows which face a gravelled area to the west. Also on the west wall a modern fireplace in the style of the 16th century. The steps heading to the dining room in the south and the archway to a corridor in the east are of the same hand. While this may have been the site of an earlier Great Hall, Lord Preston may have converted the stone hall to become a kitchen, alongside his own bedchamber, now dressed as a dining room. The hunting trophies consist not only of animal hides and heads, elephant, rhinoceros, lion, tiger and antelope among them, but also of the souvenirs from World War II. Of the antelope specimen, which themselves cover one wall, both the giant eland and the tiny dik-dik are included. These all belong to Colonel Fife, as well as a German tank crewman's helmet with its blast visor. Colonel Fife owned a Prussian officer's helmet, flintlock pistols and a bayonet, all of these on display together in the stone hall. As you walk around the room clockwise from the entrance, you see a centre table with carving and inlay which might be from the 1630s in Germany, and behind it an English press of oak. Against the south wall is a long and tall settle made of panels recycled from the 17th century.